Hello everyone, from Skip Bayless, how about the damn Cowboys to how damned are the Cowboys? Well, let's find out when we hit the road to the Super Bowl with Dallas Cowboys, America's team. Episode 12 is here, let's go. So, as usual, we will start by looking at how their draft picks from last season are panning out. And they've started the draft with Tyler Guyton. They moved back a little bit in terms of the draft and selected their hopeful tackle of the future. I felt like them staying put would have been a better option, but I was not like super hating on the process because they got some interesting compensation in due time. In Tyler Guyton, I was kind of similar to where the public was. Solid pick, nothing super fancy, nothing super great, but just a good pick. Year one, he underperformed. I mean, it's always hard for a rookie tackle, and here he was jumping into pretty huge shoes of Tyron Smith, the long-time Cowboys franchise left tackle. So the expectations were high, and it didn't help that the Cowboys fans were acting like he is going to replace him like that when they saw him play in preseason. Because preseason ain't NFL, and unfortunately for Cowboys and for Guyton, he learned the hard way. He was often a liability. He did not have like a full snaps worth of a season, yet committed 18 penalties and was responsible for 6 sacks. So those numbers, if they were for the full season, it would be approximately 30 penalties and 10 sacks, which is just way too much. So I'm not like saying he cannot do it in the future, but this was definitely a discouraging year one for Tyler Guyton. Behind him, they've selected Marshall Nealand, and I was a huge fan of this one because it felt really like they are thinking 1 year ahead. And I was like, okay, they're clearly not going all in despite what Jerry is saying. So thinking 1 year ahead makes sense. And like with the edge room not necessarily being super deep behind DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons, he had a chance to come and play even this year. And he did, but it was due to the Marcus Lawrence injury. And as a guy that they, I think, hoped that they could replace the Marcus Lawrence with post 2024 and go cheaper in that position, let's say that Marshall Nealand did not really put his stamp on this position and say, this is mine. Now, I feel like this is an open competition. I'm not saying like he cannot do it, but just like with Tyler Guyton, you definitely hoped for something more. Luckily for them, their third pick kind of saves this little bit because Cooper Beebe was, as advertised, as said by me, really guy that you can plug and play, and he is going to be a very good player. He transformed into the center where he replaced a long-term starter Tyler Biadasz, who went to the Commanders. It was probably thought that he would have to fight Brock Hoffman for this, but he just outplayed him and took the spot and never looked back. Very solid center season for year one, and I feel like probably his ceiling is not like with Creed Humphreys and Frank Greenhouse and Tyler Linderbaum of the league, but the top 10 center in this future, definitely likely in my opinion. So very happy with this pick and happy how it played out. Then they went and picked up Maurice Liufau, and I was kind of like flushed down the toilet some of the draft backs where it was like, yeah, let's get some other picks, because Liufau was total reach in my opinion. And like specifically when you don't have another pick for like 80 positions in the draft, I would not say like wasting it on Liufau, but really drafting a guy that not necessarily you had a huge need for and is a reach, I felt like was a lackluster process. Year one, I think it went better than I expected, yet still kind of poorly. Like not kind of poorly, like when you consider how many great players were drafted around him, his year one contribution definitely is lackluster. towards like his expectation and where I thought him as a player. Like I really feel like he outplayed the grade of just being a solid backup, meaning damn right unplayable player. But when you consider that just one spot ahead of him was drafted Dominic Pewley, 2 spots behind him Tyke Smith, you had Jalen Hunt after him, Cameron Kitchens, Dadion Taylor Robinson, Cedric Gray, I thought was much better prospect than Leo Fowle, drafted 10 places after him, and so on and so on. There were just difference makers, in my opinion, that they could have still drafted for position of need, and here they drafted a guy that felt like was 3rd or 4th on the depth chart to a position that was not a need and is not necessarily super valued, and at the same time it's like was a reach and was a better prospect in my opinion. So like for Leo, the first year went reasonably solid because he looked like he can play, but like he's far from certain to be a starter next season, and I would be kind of shocked if he was. And yeah, and that's pretty much it. Behind these guys, Kalen Carson did not necessarily had a year I would hope for him. I really like him as a pick, and he was just unplayable when they looked and called up on him with their top corners index and Darren Blunt struggling staying healthy. Yeah, his job is cut out for him. Like obviously it's just 250 snaps, but like he definitely did not make his case for them to not look at this position again, whether it's through free agency or through the draft, because both Blunt and Diggs kind of proved that health is going to be an ongoing issue, and with them you kind of have like 1.5, 1.3 corner, not necessarily duo that you can trust to stay healthy and play the whole season. Quite a nice under UDFA for Brevin Spanford. His journey into the league was like, well, they've invested into this room draft picks in Ferguson and in Shoemaker, so it was like there's no pressure on him, especially being UDFA, but he kind of proved that what really makes a lot of UDFAs actually looking better than those drafted guys is they are really scraping for that position. They are not expecting to be anything given. They will do whatever you ask them to do, and he was really nice blocker, and one of the players that I do expect to be back to kind of close out the tight end room as like a number 3 tight end that will give you solid snaps, not necessarily any hero in the process. Like if you get good backup from him for next 3 years, you are super happy with that. So quite quietly a nice find, but obviously nothing super flashy. These guys were just inconsequential year 1, nothing to show for. So overall, draft for the Cowboys is lackluster. It was, in my opinion, even during the draft season, I was like, it's not bad, but it's not like super sexy, super good. And year 1, I felt it even disappointed great, because the only player that I feel like played to what the standards were set up for him to play, in my eyes, was Cooper Beebe. Pretty much for every other player, it was down season. I mean, you can say with Liu Fao that he also outplayed my expectations, but it's like he was still really not great, and I'm still of the opinion that the draft process was absolutely flawed there. With that being said, let's take a look how their roster did in 2024. So we start with Dak Prescott, who unfortunately went down with injury halfway through the season, but it's not like he's been his prime regular season self, where I would say his regular season tape is among the top 7 in the league easily. Like he's really special in regular season, and he fades out in big games where he's like, like top 15 would be probably exaggerated. I know like we don't necessarily have like a lot of playoff experience with guys that are not top QB, so it's hard to say. But he's definitely much more towards like bottom tier important starter or even like a good starter rather than being amazing. So with that being said, I just have to slam Cowboys for the process that they went around with Dak and the contract. So holding out pretty much through the offseason in terms of, not that Dak was holding out, but it's like we are dragging the process. We are not really certain we are going to pay him. We have head coach with 1 year deal. We have defensive Mike Zimmer just brought here for 1 year. So it's like, this is our year, and if not, perhaps you are gone. And then you pay him following week 1 or like pre-week 1. And I'm like, okay, the timing is wrong. And the numbers are totally wrong. Like 4 years, 240 million makes him the highest paid QB in the league. To me, this is once again says Jerry Jones is not all in chasing the Super Bowl. He's all in making this franchise the most valuable thing that is out there in the sport world. He's doing that supremely well. I'm not going to take that away from him. But in terms of risking it for a biscuit, as they say, are really going for it. I'm just like, I don't think Dak Prescott is your man. And if his numbers were around 40 to 45 million, I can stomach that. I do understand it's hard to find really good QB, and I'm not saying Dak isn't. Like, I am actually a fan of Dak because like I always like the stories of undersized guys, late draft picks that just weren't meant to be it. He was drafted into a situation where he was obviously supposed to be behind Tony Romo, look a huge Cowboys, Jerry Jones for like lost son or whatever, and he just outplayed him and never looked back. But his playoff appearances are 2-5, and he is 1-3 when playing with CD Lamb and Micah Parsons on rookie deals, which means that on average those guys in those years are getting paid or are counting as cap hit for like 10 to 15 millions. So meaning they are 1/20th of your cap hit. Now is the time to pay them. CD's already been paid. Micah is awaiting that. And now their cap number combined is going to be around 80, 90 million. Not to mention that Dak's cap hit went up. But even just these two guys. So suddenly it's not 1/20th, but it's like 1/4 of your total cap hit. And you couldn't win with them being already as good of a players as they are right now on their rookie deals. Your only win is against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, with Tom Brady being like 43 at the time, throwing ball 66 times in that game. Like, I mean, if you did not win that game, it's like, what is wrong with you? But other than that, Dak is not great in playoffs, and I'm just, he's going to be the guy that really keeps you always relevant. You will always be having a chance to make a playoffs. You will never suck, but I just doubt that he is a Super Bowl winning quarterback at this point, unless you can once again surround him with absolute top talent from the draft. And even with that, he just could not make it, and not even like to the Super Bowl. He was not there. He was not into conference finals. It's like, as much as I like Dak, he's not getting younger. His body starts to show to be like slightly more injury prone than he was obviously in his like earlier years. I think he's still in his prime. I just feel like his prime is not of a guy that is going to drag you into Super Bowl, that's going to be the main hero. And like I said, I feel like the circumstances for him to be that, or like to win the Super Bowl, to get there, was as good as anyone had in terms of having Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb on rookie deals, and they did pretty much nothing interesting with that. So, call me Dak hater. I'm really not. I just, with him, with his age, I think he's maxed out. I would not sign him to a top deal. Like, if you want 40, 45 million, I'm absolutely okay with that. You are totally worth it. But this means I have 15 million to another difference maker that can push me over the edge with how the things are going. This is always like what kind of value you get for your bucks. And with that, I just don't think you are getting value. Also, it's like, man, being quarterback for Dallas Cowboys does come with certain perks in terms of commercial deals, in terms of attention you get. And this is Dak's second contract, so it's not like he is poor. Even the fact do you ever hold it against the player that he wants the most money for him? I probably shouldn't, but in this, I feel like if push comes to shove, you should really be able to leverage the fact that you can be Dallas Cowboy quarterback, and you should give us a discount because, if you have to choose between, let's say, being QB here and I don't know, like with Carolina or whatever, I would say that if you are doing things right in terms of how you approach stuff off the field, this will earn you another 10 to 15 millions a year just because you are with this huge market. You are the America's team quarterback. So with that being said, I feel like they should be able to leverage him to a discount. So that's another part of the process that I just feels to me like they are more about really always being talked about, and perhaps even like, yeah, we handed out the biggest contract, which sounds stupid, rather than playing hardball and really trying to leverage the situation. So to me, disappointment, and I feel like this deal kind of sends Dallas to be in an ultimate purgatory where they always be relevant, but at their best they will be like 1-win playoff team. At their worst there will be like 8-9 and really nothing to show for. Behind him, we talked about Cooper Rush, and I was really pleased with how the team rallied behind him, behind Mike McCarthy when Dak Prescott went down, because their season was over at that point. It was a lot of talk about them going for top picks, really tanking the season. But CeeDee Lamb played through injuries. Micah Parsons was doing a lot of things to came back, and Cooper Rush was playing good football. I'm not saying he's anything that better than like a good backup, a really solid guy, and it's just felt so shitty that he was not playing in the last game where he could have earned $500,000 in incentives. I hope it was like an honest thing. We want to take a look at Trey Lance, and they were not saving $500,000 because that would felt absolutely shitty towards this man. That being said, let's check this running back room. We start with present surprise, Enrico Double. He was a very nice player for them, really giving them juice that they did not have. But he is not like your typical bell cow 3-down running back. He's more of a complementary back, at least in my opinion. And like that you want to split like 50-50 at best. So with him not being under the contract for 2025 season, I'm not sure they will bring him back because he's not going to be cheap. The same with Zeke Elliott, in the fact that I don't expect him to be back in this scenario much more. He just did not follow on quite a solid season that he had with Patriots. This was just not it for Zeke. And I wonder whether with him already like securing a back in his last huge contract with the Cowboys, does he like have let's say will to come back and still play in the NFL, really like being this goal line type of player and really like fading out, or is he done? I would not be shocked if he is, because to me this felt like, yeah, let's come where I was at my best. Let's really like give this franchise something back, but it just didn't work. Now let's go towards wide receivers, and CeeDee Lamb just continues to be special. I know that his numbers are not like supremely amazing, great, but you have to put into consideration like he was playing hurt. He was being thrown balls from Cooper Rush, not Dak Prescott, for half of the season, and also it's like a continuation thing with Cowboys. Like there is not a great number 2 wide receiver. Brandon Cooks played half of the season. Like he is specialist, deep threat, but nothing that makes defenses not want to double team CD when he is like clearly the absolute main focus of this offense and kind of the only guy that can hurt you consistently. They got something nice from Kevante Turpin, but again, like, it's CD Lamb and the guys. Jalen Tolbert, solid season, nothing special. Jonathan Mingo, kind of like weird trade mid-season that, like at that point it was kind of clear that they won't make a playoffs. So actually trading not insignificant pick for Mingo was a bit surprising, since his 2 years with Carolina were going pretty shitty. So we will see what they get out of him, and like it would make sense if they had Dak Prescott at the time, like working on that connection for future years, because he is still under contract for 2 more years since he's been drafted in second round just 2 years ago. But it was not even that. Like we will see. Let me check what they spent on him, because it was not insignificant, right? 4th and 7th round pick. No, like 4th for him and 7th. So yeah, it's like the price is okay. Pretty much it's CD and solid players, but you just have to make it happen, CD. Ever since they let go Amari Cooper, they are looking for the number 2. They hope the Cooks will be that. I think for the money they paid him, he absolutely wasn't. And neither Tolbert, neither Turpin, neither Mingo are locked for that position by any stretch of imagination. Now let's move towards tight end room, and yet another disappointment. Jake Ferguson had his worst season, I would say, as a pro. Luke Schoonmaker still struggling with health and absolutely not delivering on his, I think, second round pedigree. 59 selection, 2 years in the league. He's not showing anything that would make me expect him to like return the value. Like he could be your nice number 2 tight end for years to come, but that really like says a lot about like how bad of a process this was, because like they already had Jake Ferguson drafted 1 year before him as a 4th rounder, really like being overall better player, and you spend such a high pick on a guy that isn't panning out. And like I said, Brevin Spenford, with those guys kind of struggling, whether it's to stay on the field or to play at like some great levels. He got some snaps. He's clearly a guy that you have there much more for his blocking prowess rather than his hands, but solid player that should make a roster next year. I'm sorry, there is a cat really trying to piss me off. Hello. Yeah, you are bad. You are a bad boy. Okay, let's move towards offensive line. Start with Tyler Guyton taking over as left tackle, and it was like I said, it was not a pretty thing to watch. Part of the reason perhaps why, like I wouldn't say like Dak's injury is on him, but you definitely want much more solid play from your left tackle when you are protecting your $240 million franchise quarterback. On the other side, this was the best year of Terrence Steele's career. He kind of finally played to a degree that they paid him, because like he is actually on surprisingly high contract. They went and signed him for like 5 years, 82 millions, and they were kind of banking on him to make a late progress into his career, because like he was solid, but he doesn't have like this huge draft pedigree. He went undrafted into the league, so he is not like this insane like specimen of a man in terms of a huge frame or whatever. Like he is a solid player, but this was definitely salary that surprised a lot of people. like especially when they are prolonging contracts with CD and Terrence Steele, and Micah and even Dak, like paying Terrence Steele 18, 17 millions a year is just, I would say at that point it was insane. This was like first year where it was justifiable, but there is still a chance that they would cut him because like the contract is still like up in the air, whether it's, I wouldn't say like unreasonable, absolutely, but it's definitely an overpay. The only good thing about that contract is it's easy to get out of. Like for now on, they would have around 80 million still towards cap hit in 4 seasons to come, and they can get rid of it with only 13.5 millions in dead cap. So that's how they like structure this contract, that there is not that huge of a penalty if they want to get out. But after the season, it might be slightly questionable whether they would want to do it, and even more when you consider Zach Martin, as we can see, like he was not his former old self, and he's also retiring. So with that being said, do you really want to redo completely your right side of the offensive line when you already like have a question mark on Tyler Guyton, then you need to strike forward? So I really feel like Zach Martin's retirement kind of makes Terrence Steele a Cowboys for next year, because you don't really want to redo the whole side of the line when you also are not set in stone with your franchise left tackle. What is a good thing about the Cowboys is the rest of this interior O-line. Cooper Beebe absolutely took this position and never looked back. He is their center for the future. It might even be that with like centers actually not being valued super hard in the market, and guards are actually skyrocketing, which is kind of weird because a lot of guys have this versatility to play both, and Cooper Beebe is one of them. I would not be shocked if they try to like move him towards Zach Martin's position, and whether it's sign a veteran center or continue with Brock Hoffman there, that could definitely be an option for them. That might be like how you, I wouldn't say scam the market, but how you outsmart the market in terms of, well, we can have the same quality guard as we could have center, but 5 million cheaper we go with center. If you look for free agency, I would say that that's kind of the difference. So Cooper Beebe as a guard might not be something that would shock me. Next to him, Tyler Smith. He is really, really insane player. Yet there is slight bad taste for this season, because you hoped, or I hoped, I guess you guys too, that he will going to take another step towards his trajectory to being an elite player, because I definitely think like this is in his future. Whether this was Tyler Guyton next to him, whether it was Cooper Rush behind him for half of the season, he was just really good, not amazing, special, one of the top 3 guards in the league, which is, I think his ceiling is like top 3, top 5 guards overall. He is really special talent, and Cowboys are super lucky to have him. And yet another guy that has just 1 year left on his current contract, and I would say, no, they have a 5th-year option on him. Oh, sorry guys. So yeah, you have 2 years on him with the 5th-year option, but then he's going to get paid. I mean, I would be shocked if it's anything under 25 million a season. So good luck with that. With Dak being on 60 to 70 cap hit, CD on 40, Micah on 40, Tyron Smith on 25. Let me count. It's almost 200 million on 4 players. What's the cap hit? 300 million. So you need to fill out at under 49 players on 100 million. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with Dak. In terms of the backups, TJ Bass, Brock Hoffman, really solid players. I do kind of expect that Brock Hoffman is going to get a starting job next year, whether it's as a guard or a center, it's like to be determined. But I think he showed absolutely enough to be worth this chance, and he is one player that you can bring on a cheap contract with him being restricted free agent. And, I feel like as a Cowboys, you want to give him a chance to start and to see whether you want to pay him long term. There is also a possibility that you already do that, kind of resign him on cheap and then offer him contract from 2026, something like 3 years, 20 millions, and kind of like banking that what you've seen throughout his time here is going to have this upward trajectory. And by prepaying him, you are actually getting value in later years. So I do expect him to be back. DJ Bass obviously is going to be, he has 1 year left on his deal and he is warranted of that. He is a solid option that you have for tackle position. So this was your Cowboys offense. It was far away from that scoring machine that it was in 2023. Dak was playing like 2 levels behind or below what was almost an MVP season in 2023. And the year kind of started excellent, right? They went to Cleveland, where Cleveland was considered really interesting team if Deshaun Watson can play. Later it was shown that he still cannot, but it was still against number 1 defense from last year, and they just freaking demolished them. Dak looked amazing. That it was like, yeah, he has his new contract. And I was like, oh my God, are Cowboys onto something? And then the week 2 came at home against Saints that get their asses whipped, and it was that. It was that from that. With that being said, let's focus on this defense. Micah Parsons, unfortunately, had his year shortened due to injury, but still wrecked super insane production. It's crazy to feel like I don't think he's maxed out as a player, because it's still just his second full season as a complete edge player, not playing linebacker. And yeah, boy, he's just, to me, he's probably the only player that has it. Probably Hutchinson really got on there, and perhaps Jared Verse. Okay, there are several young edge players that have this potential to really leap from elite to Myles Garrett elite, because despite how I love and adore Nick Bosa, and I think TJ Watt is excellent still, and Josh Naheem Hines, I still feel like there is a discrepancy between elite level that Myles Garrett plays and the rest of the guys that I have as an elite. And Micah Parsons, to me, is the guy closest to go towards that level. He's never going to be a run defender. He's not built like Myles Garrett, but in terms of pass rush, I feel like he can be even more effective than Myles is, and that's a scary, scary thought for any Cowboys opponent in upcoming years, though he's still not under contract post 2025. So we will see how that plays out, and whether Micah even suits up for 2025, because he doesn't have to. DeMarcus Lawrence, unfortunately, I feel like this was his farewell season with the Cowboys. Unless he is going to take a huge pay cut to stay here. I feel like his age, his body, he's still really great player. The 167 snaps where he was this year doesn't change that. He was still amazing in 2023, and I feel like he's going to secure another back. But as of right now, Cowboys I don't think has the means to afford him, unless they're gonna be super unreasonable with some stuff. And also it would be banking on him staying healthy, which is far from certainty at this point of time. So I don't think they are desperate enough to try to need to count on him staying healthy. So I think it's going to be somewhere else, unless he's willing to come back on 8-9 million a year, which I feel why would he? It's not this is a Super Bowl established team in terms of potential. So perhaps Lions could be a place that they would fit DeMarcus. Just an idea, but I would not be shocked if they looked at him. That being said, behind him, we already talked about Nyland, not necessarily like stepping up to take this position and be his, what they say. And Kyle Lawson, kind of veteran that gave you what they expected. Nothing super nice. Like, yes, like 6x is a nice production, but again, like with all the stats, most likely these guys are not those who created those eggs. They were just here to like snatch them up, and they were prepped from Micah Parsons. Chauncey Golston is your, how to say it, like good third piece, but again, not necessarily a difference maker. And that really, like how this group is shaping up, is like Micah and the company. And we will see how they approach the situation, whether they like will trust in Nyland or they will try to bring someone more expensive into this room, or even address it with draft, because it would be a shame if teams can double Micah every single play. Because unfortunately for the Cowboys, their huge investment in Mazi Smith is absolutely not paying out. Like 2 years into the process, like first year was disappointing, but it was like, well, he was playing with different weight that he was in the college, so there was like some shenanigans. They tried to ask for him more than probably he could handle. So next year is going to be the guy that we drafted, and it was even worse. So Mazi Smith, as of right now, looks like a huge bust for them, and kind of a guy that they've absolutely banked on, spent 26th pick overall, to really be the guy that will help them secure the interior. Because like it's nice that you have Micah, but like I said, Micah is not a special run defender. Like he can defend the run, but he's not special in that. He's like there, like when you imagine like one edge is like danger zone, but if we can run it through the middle almost every play, or we can create push there, for a QB to step into, that definitely slows what Micah gives you. And that Mazi Smith was supposed to be the solution for that interior, and he is liability, an active one when he's on the field. With that, you have to appreciate Osa, because kind of, I wouldn't say it out of nowhere, because he was a good player, obviously, even before they signed or they drafted. They drafted Mazi Smith, but he needed to be like, I wouldn't say special, but really, really good. And you don't necessarily associate it with 75 pick that he is going to step up towards the heights that Osa did, especially with like his first year was similar to Mazi's. Like it wasn't as bad, but it was definitely discouraging. But for 2 years that Mazi is here, Osa kind of covers that and gives this room some semblance of, we are not total pushovers. Osa is great player, and yet another one that they need to figure out in this offseason. From what I've read, in case they are not able to figure out long-term deal, they will franchise tag him, which probably he is worth that type of money. And it's a question like, how are you not figuring this out when you really have nobody else in here? Like, I don't trust Mazi, and like you need Osa back. Osa has all the leverage here. And I know everyone is like mocking Ashton Genty towards the Cowboys, but they have bigger issues, or issues that, I mean, like defensive tackles, actually, like that's a position that even in the second round, I feel like you will find a really nice talent. So it's not necessarily that they have to go all in with the first round. It's similar to like running backs in this draft class. So they are kind of lucky in terms of their, I would say, two huge needs. Also, like they have wide receiver, two needs, and etc. But two biggest needs, interior of defensive line and running backs. This is a great class to have those needs. So lucky for the Cowboys. Now let's talk and look at linebacker room. Eric Kendricks, what a signing this was. It was kind of expected that it was going to be this good. Yet another veteran that you bring him into the system that he's run with Mike Zimmer for several years with the Vikings. He's going to be your captain on the field, coach on the field. He's going to make sure that everybody knows their assignments. And for what it's worth, he actually not only did that, but he kind of was silently pulled off a really great season for himself. So real nice. Unfortunately for him, Mike Zimmer is gone. Matt Eberflus is going to be new defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. And whether that means that a new system is going to be in place, is Eric Kendricks really the leader that you want for the system to run? That remains to be seen, because he was also on a 1-year deal here. Demario Overshown, solid season, nothing like superb for 91st pick in this year's draft. But yeah, I feel like I forget on him with the slides. I'm sorry for that, guys. No, I'm stupid. So again, I was shocked because I saw that he only played 1 year, but obviously he was injured for his first season. So this was essentially his year 1 in the NFL. He showed enough that they can trust him, that he is going to be at least in the rotation. But is he a leader that Eric Kendricks was? No. I would say he's more of a specialist, more of a blitzing type, and we'll see where he lands in Matt Eberflus's defense. Liufau, again, you had Kendricks, you had Overshown, you had Damon Clark, who in his 2 years with Cowboys looked very good. So like I said, he was supposed to be number 4 linebacker. He got some chances, not necessarily earned my trust, and yeah, that's that with him. Damon Clark, kind of surprisingly, being slightly less used than I would have expected. Probably had something to do with Mike Zimmer and him not necessarily have the superior use of him. He was much more of a special team player, but I feel like he's done enough in his first 2 years to deserve a chance. So this is going to be his last year of a rookie deal. With that, also yet another reason why Eric Kendricks might not be back, because you have Clark, you have Liufau, you have Overshown. You need to kind of set your mind on what you want to do with Damon Clark going forward. So I do expect them to probably go very young and pretty much run with 3 guys on rookie deals. Unlike a lot of teams, Cowboys are actually not to a degree like the Cardinals, but one of those teams that value having good safety play. They have 2 solid guys in Malik Hooker and Donovan Wilson. Both are able to stay healthy. Both you pay reasonable sums of money, around 8 to 9 million. So they are giving you kind of exactly what you're paying for. With Donovan Wilson, you have to question his inability to cover anyone. Obviously, I'm sorry guys, there's been a mistake. This is not, he didn't have 56 interception, it was 56 tackles. I'm sorry, I missed this one, but 56 interception, I mean, that would be really nice. If anyone ever had 56 interception and still passer rating when thrown at 141, it would be I cannot imagine how that would happen. So solid play, nothing that will elevate you, and not necessarily super cheap in today's market of safeties. But I do expect them to be back. As we talked with Kalen Carson, they do have their starting corners in Trevon Diggs and in Darren Bland. Both are very similar in terms of they started as this huge risk takers. Their production of interception was really nice, yet they fell out a lot of big plays because of that. Now they are trying to become much more sound and not allowing that easy completions, but this has influence on their ball production. I feel like they are both really solid, and I like this progression. Unfortunately, both of them are slightly more injury prone than you would like to. For Darren Bland, it's even more significant because that was why he fell in the draft. So if they are both on the field, you have your number one, number two that you are happy with, not necessarily stoked with, but definitely happy with. But how often does that, is that going to happen for years to come? So I do definitely feel like they need a third guy that is going to be, I wouldn't say as solid as Darren Bland, but definitely someone that they need to be able to go up on and be able to count on. And unfortunately, they don't necessarily have that in terms of like corners that are able to play wide. Jordan Lewis is a player that is great, but his like, let's say, forte is definitely not an outside corner. He is a slot. Where he plays like, yeah, pretty much every. He played only 11 snaps as an outside corner like this year, and only 130 across his whole career. He's one of the good slot corners, not necessarily special, but yet another player that is not under contract for next year. He is a bit older, so you could probably get him for cheap, around 3-4 millions, but he is not solving your problems that you have with Diggs and Bland in terms of health issues. And unfortunately, Kalen Carson in his year one did not look like an answer too. So Loki, despite like when Diggs, Bland, and presumably Levis are out there, you have really nice corner trio, but you know, how often is that going to happen with those outside guys? With that being said, we've come to an end of 2024 rundown. Now it's time to hunt some prices. So for draft hit, we have to go Cooper BB. You know, like I said, offensive line is not an easy position to transition. Guard to center, you need to understand snap alignments. You need to be able to like coordinate guys, talk to your QB, be able to snap on time every single fucking time. It's not easy to coordinate snap and your get off. So really huge kudos for him. Like, was this like generational type of great season? No, but it was really great showing for Cooper BB. In terms of draft flop, well, Tyler Guyton unfortunately did not manage his transition very well. And you know, like, I seriously doubt that they would look for another left tackle in terms of draft or even like high paid free agency. But with what he's shown, I feel like you need to consider bringing some experienced veteran to back him up, because you kind of cannot allow this man to protect your investment in Dak Prescott if he plays like he played the year one. So you need to have some insurance that you did not necessarily expect it need to when you've invested such a high pick in Tyler Guyton, and like the way he looked in preseason and camp. So, you know, maybe things click. I definitely don't push it past Guyton, but really discouraging year one. In terms of cornerstone of this franchise, you could go for Micah, but to me, what made this slight edge towards CeeDee Lamb was his ability to playing through injuries. Like, you can literally see, like, he was kind of holding one of his arm, and like at that point it was like, why the f you are even doing this? Like, we are not going anywhere this year. What's going on? And I feel like this was him really standing behind Mike McCarthy, showing that we are here for our coach. I am here playing one-handed pretty much, and I'm still really insane doing that. That just edged him over Micah Parsons, but like, it literally could go to any of these two guys. Both had really excellent seasons. In terms of unsung hero, I have to give it to Osa, because like I said, they for years, you know, pretty much like since 2020, I would say, everybody kind of is like, well, you know, when in trouble against Dallas, let's run into the middle, let's push into the middle. And they are trying to fix this hole, and Osa is the only answer that they were able to find out in those 4 years. And like with the Cowboys, It's like having this game plan, let's go ahead, we have high octane offense with Dak, with CD, etc., and then unleash our pass rusher because team needs to throw at us. But when they go off script, when they go behind, teams are able to really drag out every single drive because interior was pretty bad, and Osa is the only one like holding this room together. So to me, he is an unsung hero of this team. In terms of flop, we stay in the same room because Mazi Smith in his second year was like even worse than in year one. He was active liability out there, and it's definitely not what you expected. He was supposed to be the answer, and so far he is the problem. So the year 3 for him is an absolute must for him and for the Cowboys. Like, they need Mazi Smith and Tyler Guyton to really have a good 2025 if they kind of have any chance to be like super relevant. Like, these two guys need to have like huge seasons, in my opinion. Otherwise, like, you are not going to fix those holes, in my opinion. It's like you are going to bang on these guys, though you probably like bring some veterans to bang them up, but you don't necessarily have the money or resources to like try to address this in like super huge capacities. So they need to deliver. And Mazi, so far, he did freaking not. So those are the awards, though you can say like anti-awards in terms of blunder and flop. Now let's look at where this franchise is at. And this franchise is not in a great position, in my opinion, because Brian Schottenheimer was named the head coach. And dude, like, I had my reservations around Mike McCarthy, and I was sitting here like, yeah, I would not prolong McCarthy. But if you said to me that the plan is to elevate Brian Schottenheimer, I would be like, what? And especially after what we saw in the second part of the year, where it was clear that this team is standing behind Mike McCarthy. And with that, like, being said, Shotty is probably part of it, but like, is there a chance for some false narrative that, perhaps he is like handpicked by Jerry Jones to like have even more control on this franchise, even like from the sideline? Could there be like some internal division, like Shotty perhaps, I'm not saying it happened or it will happen. I'm not a huge fan of Shotty for his time in Seattle. Like, I didn't like that offense, but I wouldn't say like he is a bad guy. But it's Dallas Cowboys. Like, there will be someone somewhere trying to push a lot of narratives about this hire. And overall, like, I would say he is probably the worst head coach as of right now. Like, the experience is not there. And the prowess, I mean, I'm not saying like he's bad, but like, I don't think he would be a choice for a lot of teams to even be their coordinator rather than head coach. So a lot of question marks about this hire, a lot of questions about the process, and like, I would definitely take Mike McCarthy over Brian Schottenheimer, especially with the team like really like having his back second part of the season. That being said, let's take a look at 2024. It was a huge disappointment. Like we said, draft was not necessarily great. Obviously, the expectations were big. They did not deliver. I mean, you can say, Dak Prescott injury, but like, even with him staying healthy, I don't think they are making playoffs. Kind of the only saving grace was like the second part of the year, where the team that was like written off, there was like 10-point handicaps in games, and they were able to like win those games or be really in those games. The way that CD tried to hand play through injury, the way that Micah Parsons really rushed his comeback to help them, it really showed some unity within that locker room. And that's yet another point, like, why are you not trying to prolong on that with Mike McCarthy? In terms of QB, I give this situation 1-. This again, like, you have really good guy, I'm not questioning that, but you are paying too much for that if you ever want to win a Super Bowl, in my opinion. So you need to really find a lot of values around him, because in terms of QB value, I don't think you have one based on the money you are paying Dak. I'm not saying Dak is a bad QB by any stretch of imagination, but we put money into the occasion as well. In terms of hot seat, I have no idea, man, because it could really be that Jerry wants to even have more control, and Brian could be like ideal man for that. So with that being said, like, is this a situation that his job is really secure? I don't know. I don't think so. I feel like even Jerry being Jerry, I don't think he wants to become a laughingstock, because let's be fair, like, All In was mocked all around the internet, and Cowboys being Cowboys, like 30 years without really any significant accomplishment, like, there's like, it's going to start to have, at least in my opinion, some tool on how you value this franchise, and that's where like it might hurt even Jerry. So to me, it's kind of in the middle, because I feel like there is going to be better head coaching candidates next season that Schulte is. So, and also I don't think he's necessarily very well set up with the team that he has in hands. Finances, like, they're strapped on. Like, they have only like $3 million in free cap. You have Brandon Cooks, DeMarcus Lawrence, Eric Kendricks, Jordan Lewis, Cooper Rush, Osa, Rico Dowdle, Chelsea Golston, like several guys that, are pending free agents that unless you push money down the line, you cannot really afford. And you are committed a lot of money towards just 3 players. I mean, 2 of them, I'm absolutely okay with that. But with Dak, it's a bit of a problem. I feel like I went too harsh. It probably should have been just 2 minuses, because at least they don't have necessarily money like budged in the future. Like, they have not loaned from the future for their present. But if they want to be relevant in 2025, I think that's going to start to happen. So it's probably just 2 minuses, but their situation is not great. Strength of this team, I mean, they are still America's team. They are still the most valuable team in the NFL and across the whole universe, or like across the whole globe. That comes with certain perks, though. Like I talked with like Dak Prescott contract. Why don't you leverage that better? Because, I mean, don't tell me that with Jerry Jones connections, you cannot persuade some of your old buddies to sprinkle a couple more millions on some of the advertisement deals with Dak, and you can save them from cap hits. Like, come on, let's not pretend that this is not a possibility, and like do it in a like a legal manner. Let's put it that way. In terms of division, from the perception of Cowboys, this is not good, right? You have Eagles, who just won a Super Bowl and are, one of the best built franchise in the whole league. They've just hit supremely on the draft, so good luck with that. You have Washington with Jaden Daniels, with best rookie quarterback season ever, in my opinion. So good luck with that, and already like making conference championship, to which you are waiting for 30 years. And Giants, obviously, that's not the team that you are afraid of, but it's still not like they are doomed situation. Like, for example, in my opinion, like Saints are for a couple of years, Browns are for a couple of years. Giants strike good on their draft, and if they have similar draft this year, if they find their franchise QB, they can be a team that is a nuisance, not necessarily like great, but a nuisance. So with that being said, let's take a look how this roster and lineup could look like in 2025. So with Zach Martin's retirement, I've shuffled things around, and I kept Terrence Steele on my roster breakdown for them, because this is how the offensive line looks like. I mean, I would not think it unreasonable to push Cooper Beebe towards a guard with how the markets are working, but it might just be that they don't want to break what worked absolutely great with Cooper in year 1. With Dak, like, again, it's a story of two Daks. If we are talking about Dak in regular season, he's definitely an amazing starter. Like, I think he's a top 7 QB. But this is like overall he's great, and it just isn't towards that caliber when I consider like a whole year. With the playmakers, I kind of do expect them to be looking for running backs. I think it's clear that they need to bring one at least, but it's pretty much even to, or like I would not put it past them to even draft 3 running backs or like take 2 and pick up 1 undrafted. And I feel it's still looking for wide receiver number 2. So, for example, I saw several mock drafts in which Ted McMillan is for some reason falling down. I don't really understand that. To me, he's an excellent prospect. If you have a choice between him and GMaty, I would go for McMillan because I do feel like you don't find like when you can go McMillan and second round running back or GMaty and second round wide receiver, I think you have more value in McMillan and second round RB for the Cowboys. Jake Ferguson still probably holds on his starting job as a tight end, but not necessarily after this year he's a weapon that you count on. In terms of backups, you have TJ Bass, versatile, cheap, everything you can ask for from undrafted free agent. Luke Schoonmaker, he's going to be your backup tight end, and Jonathan Mingo, like you spent 4th round pick on him, he still has 2 years, so I do expect him to make the roster, and we will see whether he's going to have some secret connection with Dak, but so far not really much from Mingo. Cooper Rush, as a Cowboys fan, I would be happy if they brought him back. Like I'm not a Cowboys fan, but if I were, I definitely feel like Cooper Rush is an ideal backup for you. He's well respected. I would say well loved in that locker room, and he's perfect backup towards Dak. Though I'm not sure like if him not playing in that week 18 might have closed the door on this possibility unless you overpay him. So even that's like you are doing that for Trey Lance, who is a free agent after this year. Weird process in my opinion. Where does the defense stand? Micah and Osa, I think they need to bring Osa back. You can argue that perhaps Mazi Smith is going to be a starter. They will just bank on him. Like I might even like do it. It's like, well, we kind of have nothing to lose. Like I don't think we are established to have any significant run in the season. So let's just try to release the beast out of him. But here I just couldn't make myself to do that. So they're really looking for second edge and second defensive tackle. In terms of linebackers, here I was bringing Kendricks back, though more and more as I think of it, Adi Berflus, I mean, he can definitely use a veteran like this, especially for the room when you have still 3 guys on rookie deals. But it seems less likely as I'm thinking this through and through. So as of right now, I would probably not put Kendricks here. In terms of secondary, like I said, Diggs and Bland are going to be starters. How long, how many snaps? That's the question. And they really don't have corners to back them up at this point. Jordan Lewis, we will see if they will be able to bring him back. Like from his point of view, are the Cowboys the team that has the best offer for him? Like financially, probably not. And in terms of fighting for Super Bowls, probably not. So I kind of low-key just didn't put him back in, though I would say that they will try to do that. In terms of safeties, it's clear Hooker and Wilson, they are solid enough not to cut them. And that's pretty much that. In terms of backups, Liufau, Smith, and Nyland, you hope for better development than they showed you in 4 years combined. Demario Overshawn, it might be that he should be the guy on like a starting page of this rundown over the Kendricks. So yeah, but I'm still like linebacker is a volatile position. Matt Eberflus did not hesitate and paid Tremaine Edmonds like super huge money to bring him towards the Chicago. So is he necessarily a guy that's willing to go like, okay, so we have guys that have combined 6 years of experience and we are trying to make them excellent linebackers? I think that there is still spot for a veteran, and why don't bring Eric back where he thrived here. Kellen Carson, I'm not giving up on him, but I just couldn't bring myself to put him in any semblance of like starting rotation for corners. With that being said, this is all that I have for you about Cowboys. It was not super fun talk. I really feel like this franchise is in not a good spot. I'm not sure like who runs it in terms of like even like the bench. Like, is it Jerry Jones as an owner that's going to have a lot of influence, even more than he had weeks prior? Because like with Mike McCarthy, obviously he's at least like well fucking respected head coach. With Shotty, it's not really that situation. So I'm not sure where this leads. I am not really happy how they handled Dak Prescott situation, and like point to me towards like what needs to happen for Cowboys to like win a playoff game next year. Let's put it this way. So it's going to be super freaking hard to win division over Eagles and Commanders, right? So it's kind of, you need to win a game on the road. And so Tyler Guyton needs to pan out. Mazi Smith needs to pan out. Their corners needs to stay healthy. CD and Micah needs to stay healthy. Dak needs to stay healthy. Because if any one of these guys goes down, there is really a huge drop off of like the entire room. Like they don't have wide receiver 2, they don't have edge 2. Obviously, like Cooper Rush, they don't have anyone close to Dak Prescott level in terms of QBs. And like even with that, is this a team that matches favorably with Eagles? No. Is this the team that matches favorably with Commanders? I mean, depends. There's a lot of unknown with their roster, but probably not necessarily, especially when you have Dan Quinn kind of knowing this franchise through and through. And that already is like 4 games that, you could be favorites at home against Commanders, but that's the only one. And if you're going on the road in like week 1 of the playoffs, it's like, are you winning at Detroit? Are you winning at San Francisco or the Rams or the Seahawks? Maybe. Are you winning at Tampa? You could. But it's like so many things needs to go really right for them to even make playoffs. Unless they going to like take a page from Eagles, Saints and Browns book and restructure a bunch of contracts towards the future and create a ton of cap space and really show us what last year's all-in was supposed to mean. But I do not trust them to do that, and I don't think that they are necessarily in prime position to do so, because I think this is very valuable tool that you have when you try to like open the window for top drafts that you have like even supervisor. So it's really when you are like, well, Jaden Daniels, let's open the window as much fucking open. CJ Stroud, Houston like doing a bit of that. Yeah. I'm sorry guys, like I was trying to be more enthusiastic towards this episode because there are some players and like some positives about this team, especially like later part of the year. It was actually like pleasant to watch how they fight, but I just couldn't like this really feel like they are stuck in purgatory and I'm not seeing a way out for them. With that being said, 12th episode is over. Thank you very much for listening. Leave a like, leave a comment, and see you next time. Bye bye.